Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. So now we are still in the early stages of the month of October 2020. And so I'd like to continue on with sharing with you just some comments that I have regarding a number of horror films or horror-related films that for one reason or another have meant something to me in terms of my own personal film journey. As I say, with all these films, of course, it is a genre, or these might be genres that aren't necessarily for everyone. And so if these types of films aren't for you, then no worries. There's no pressure in terms of needing to watch anything that I talk about here. So please don't worry, and I completely understand if some of these films aren't for you. But for those of you who are interested, 'tis the season after all. And so I'd like to share with you some comments that I have regarding a film from 1988 from one of the great masters of cinema. This is one of the most important filmmaker artists that ever lived. And we have so many films from him that are so varied in terms of content, in terms of style, in terms of story, architecture, and thrust. However, we always get from all of his films, whether they be narratives or documentaries or whatever, we always get a supremely established sense of intellectual curiosity and in-your-face sort of counterculturalism that is presented in the most beautifully artistically rendered way that is both poetic and full of meaning, true, deeply established meaning that is based in literature, that is based in art, but is also based in politics and based in religion, such that his films become always multifaceted and multi-connected to oneself and to the world around us. They are supreme achievements. And here is one that is so interesting in my personal opinion, and hopefully for those of you who know this film, you feel the same way, which is this film, The Lair of the White Worm, by the one, the only Ken Russell. The Lair of the White Worm is an really fascinating film that I think has grown so much in stature and effectiveness as time progresses, such that even now I think it's such a strong cult classic, but it's also a film that holds a lot of the types of the winks to the audience and the true, almost revolutionary audacity in cinematic terms of the artist Ken Russell. Plus we have a story that has traces of the Gothic, traces of the sort of the earthiness and style and tone that is associated with the land. And we have a wonderfully conceived mystery that has its roots in horror and comedy and camp, and also the divine and also the obscene and the filmic and also video art and the sense of mystery and also action adventure and also archaeology. There's almost a kind of archaeological dig sense of adventure that leads to really exciting set pieces that are just out of this world, fantastic, phenomenal, and quite intriguingly conceived. So this is a film that is, I think, truly a mixture of so many fascinating aspects that I think make it both a horror film and also transcendent of the horror genre. So it's both, it's many things at once. Let me put it that way. And it does have horror elements to it. And the horror elements come in some really spectacular and almost outlandish campy, wonderfully, gorgeously campy sequences that I don't want to spoil, lest you haven't, for anyone who hasn't seen the film. But just suffice to say that you are in for a real treat. It will make you chuckle, it will make you laugh, it might make you cringe in some places, but I think that's the whole point. What we have here also is a true sense of literature, Bram Stoker, and also the Gothic literary tradition writ large that is placed very cleverly against a modern setting. And at the heart of this film is, of course, the cast. This is a cast that is, I think, very, very well put together. And heading off the cast, we have Hugh Grant and Peter Capaldi and Amanda Donohoe. And so this trio is a real treat because they bring to the table such different almost aesthetics, if you will, that are still very complementary among each other. I'm a big fan of Peter Capaldi, for example, and to see his turn here is so wonderful. There is a kind of a rugged action-adventure sensibility about what he brings and his character, which is a perfect contrast to Hugh Grant's character and his background and his class, and yet the two of them have such a great rapport and such a great on-screen chemistry that they make a real, almost fantastically conceived buddy duo in a sense. And so therefore they give us different tones, but each, of course, leading to a singular conclusion or the climax of the film. And then we have Amanda Donohoe, whose Lady Sylvia Marsh is one of those spectacularly outlandish characters. And in that way, I think she fits in so well into the universe that is depicted in this film. And she really just lets loose and is, in terms of her presentation and performance, a real free spirit that is calm in its demeanor at one point and can turn on a dime in an instant. And not to mention the types of particular scenes that she has to play and the particular almost vile sense of villainy that is involved in a lot of those scenes. But mixed into that, we have a wonderful sense of kind of, again, winking at the audience type of campiness that is very much, I think, very positively self-aware, such that we are having fun while we are being horrified, or we are enjoying ourselves and we are enthralled and we are entertained while we are also being scared. And so that is, I think, a very difficult thing to pull off. And her performance is one of those great ones, and I think she pulls it off magnificently. It's one of the most classic performances of this particular era of cinema. And so I think the more people who are familiar with it, I think the better, because it really deserves a lot of attention, and it is really just some of those images that are conjured up by her performance and the makeup appliance that is involved in some of those aspects, I think are very difficult to shake from one's memory, because they are so deeply rooted in terms of a fundamental sense of what makes us uneasy about this thing that we call the horror genre. I think her performance gets at the heart of that to a T. Oh, so sublimely and oh, so perfectly. And I think that is one of the aspects that makes this film such a success. There are also a lot of spectacle scenes. There are also a lot of action-adventure scenes. There are also a lot of almost mystery scenes in terms of the solution of the mystery, as it were. And I think, therefore, it is, and there are also really almost striking senses of imagery put on screen that can be sudden flashes of what might be termed video-based video-based iconography that is real, almost countercultural pop art stuff that is really flying in the face of things like institutionalized religion and also human sexuality, as well as a real almost punk aesthetic that is, again, so strongly and so intimately intertwined with the nature and aspect and tone and atmosphere of this film that I think it's just a remarkable achievement. It's a film that is also very earthy, and it has really wonderful dirt and stone type of tones to the film, which I think make the film more accessible. And once we access the film, then we are privy to all of its outlandish nature, which I think is a great way to make us even more involved in the film. So I believe overall this is a wonderful camp classic that I use the word camp, but I don't mean anything derogatory. I think that is a truly wonderful word to use, because it is a camp classic that is a marvelous blend of everything, many tones that I personally enjoy in good cinema. And so this is a wonderful example of that. So The Lair of the White Worm. Again, there are some horror elements to it. There are some scary bits to it. So, and there are some pretty vivid and quite outlandishly rendered depictions of sexual themes, for example, that might not necessarily be for everyone. However, if you are okay with this kind of style, then I strongly urge you to check this out if you can. This happens to me the Region A Vestron Video Collector's Series version of The Lair of the White Worm. And it's really so packed with special features, and I can't recommend this strongly enough. This is a really great presentation, a great overall package of a film from the great master, and one of the great masters of modern cinema. That is Ken Russell, the one, the only Ken Russell, and this is his great film, The Lair of the White Worm. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you once again for your time, my dear friends, and cheers.